Nobody warns you about the first $10,000. They tell you to start investing. They tell you about compound interest. They show you the 30-year charts where a small monthly contribution becomes a life-changing sum. But they skip the part that actually determines whether any of that happens, the first $10,000, and how genuinely difficult it is to accumulate when everything about the early stages of investing is designed by mathematics to feel pointless. I want to talk about that part honestly. Because I almost quit during it, and I suspect you either have quit during it or you are in it right now and wondering whether you should. The first $10,000 is brutal for a specific and understandable reason. The returns are invisible. You put in $300 a month. After a year, your portfolio holds roughly $3,800. Your dividend payment that month is maybe $4.50. You have given up 12 months of discipline and $3,600 of your own money, and the market has handed you $4.50. The math is working correctly. The system is functioning exactly as designed. And it feels completely, almost insultingly inadequate. This is not a personal failure. This is the arithmetic of early compounding. The returns compound on the base. When the base is small, the returns are small. There is no way around this. The only path through the first $10,000 is to keep contributing while the base builds, trusting that the mechanism you cannot yet feel is already operating. Here is exactly how I got through it, because I did not get through it through willpower alone. Willpower is not a reliable enough tool for a multi-year financial commitment. I got through it with 3 specific strategies that made the early stage survivable when the numbers alone were not enough. The first strategy was automating everything. My monthly investment happened automatically on the 15th of every month, regardless of what the market was doing, regardless of how I felt about the balance, regardless of whether I had looked at my portfolio recently. The automation removed the decision from the equation entirely. I never had to choose to invest each month because the choice had already been made and locked in. This matters enormously in the early stages because the early stages give you almost no positive feedback. The balance is small. The returns are small. Without automation, you are relying on motivation to make a decision that delivers almost no immediate reward. That is an unsustainable model. Automation replaces motivation, and automation is far more reliable. The second strategy was tracking progress in a different unit. Instead of measuring success by the portfolio balance, which felt too small for too long, I tracked the number of shares I owned in my index fund. Shares accumulate in a way that feels more tangible than a dollar balance during the early stages. Every month, I added more shares. Every month the share count went up. And shares, unlike dollar balances, do not go down when the market dips. The number of shares you own only increases if you keep buying and never sell. This reframe made the early progress feel real in a way that watching a small balance fluctuate never did. The third strategy was calculating the future value of my current progress on a quarterly basis. Every 3 months, I would sit down and calculate what my current portfolio balance would become in 10 years at a 9% annual return, without adding another single dollar. This exercise had a consistent and powerful effect on my psychology. Even at $3,000, which felt meaninglessly small, the 10-year projection at 9% produced a number north of $7,000 without any additional contributions. At $6,000, the 10-year projection exceeded $14,000. The money was working even when it felt like it was not. Seeing that calculation every quarter made it easier to keep fueling the engine during the months when the fuel felt like it was disappearing into nothing. Now let me tell you what crossing $10,000 actually feels like, because the anticipation of it sustained me through the worst months. It is quiet. There is no celebration. The number appears on your portfolio dashboard on an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday morning, and you sit with it for a moment. $10,000. And then something shifts. Not in your finances, not yet. In your psychology. Because $10,000 is the first number that feels like a real foundation. It is the first number that if you stopped contributing entirely and simply left it in the market for 30 years at 9%, would grow to approximately $132,000. Without you doing anything. The base has become real enough that time alone can produce a meaningful outcome. And that realization, that you have crossed the threshold where time becomes your ally in a meaningful and calculable way, is what makes the brutal early stage worth every month of it. Here is the specific plan I followed during those first months. Monthly contribution of $300, automated on the 15th. Split between a total market index fund and a dividend ETF. Share count tracked in a simple spreadsheet, updated monthly. Quarterly future value calculation performed without fail. Portfolio balance checked no more than once a month to prevent emotional interference with the automation. That is the entire plan. There is nothing clever or sophisticated about it. The sophistication comes from following a simple plan through the months when the plan feels like it is not producing anything. Because those are exactly the months when the foundation is being built. If you are currently in the first $10,000 phase, here is what I want you to take from this video. The brutality you are experiencing is not a signal that the system is failing. It is confirmation that the system is working exactly as it should. The math requires a foundation before it can compound meaningfully. You are building that foundation right now. Every month you continue, the foundation gets larger, the returns get larger, and the day when this stops feeling brutal gets closer.
Keep going.
The first $10,000 is the hardest money you will ever build. Everything after it is easier.
Not easy, easier.
And worth every single difficult month that came before it.